I want to make another demonstration of how I introduce horizontal parallax in a side-scrolling animation. I've previously talked about how to create seamlessly tiled layers that can scroll through endlessly. Um, and I just want to focus on how to do the actual animation of the layers in After Effects and introduce parallax using one technique, which is just using scaling. It's a simple one, and there are a lot of different refinements of this technique that can be done, but this should be generalizable, applicable to different resolution animations and different situations. So, looking at this right now, you see that I have several different layers brought in from Photoshop. There's a background that is twice the width of the screen, and it's seamless, so I can get it to scroll through, and when it's scrolled, the left half is scrolled off and the right half is scrolled on, it'll seamlessly loop to another version of that, another loop of that. I have my hero character, and that layer is just the character itself. I'll be animating it in this composition. A lot of the other animation is going to be happening in subcompositions when we're done. Here we have some foreground elements, some grass, and up at the top some kind of foliage elements. And this again is exactly twice the width of the screen. You see, this is I actually created these layers a long time ago, so this is a standard video resolution, 720 by 480 composition. So 1440 is twice the width of the screen here, and 480 is the height of the screen. Some more, this is like a more foreground layer, again twice the width of the screen, but it doesn't know the whole height of the screen here, so that can be positioned however I want vertically. Okay, now there are these obstacles that our hero is going to be dodging, and you see that to loop this, the obstacles on the screen, there's another copy of them off screen that are going to be coming on to replace those. And so this is now the width of this layer is not the 1440 we saw before, because I could have brought this in as a composition with where I don't retain the layer size, but here it's kind of cropping this layer to the extent of the image. But that, so we'll look at how that really doesn't affect how you work with this at all. Here's another layer. Now I have this rain that's meant to go diagonally, so I actually have a layer seamlessly tiled with this rain that is twice the width of the screen and twice the height of the screen, so that I can scroll horizontally and vertically at the same time to get a diagonal movement of that. It's just another extension of the original idea. And you can't see the shadow because it's black on black, and it is just the size of the layer. All right, let's take a look at how to animate this. The first thing we want to do is just get everything except our hero and the hero shadow moving at the same speed horizontally. So I'm going to select all of these layers. I'll do a select all, and I guess I'll deselect the hero and shadow. All these other things I want moving at the same speed from right to left. So I'm going to show the position for these. Create a keyframe at frame 0. So we're at frame 0. I created a keyframe. Now, notice that I set this up so that the position of all the layers is at 0, 0, and that's just to make it easier to calculate positions. And for some of the layers, I had to change the anchor point so that the position would be 0, 0 up at the corner here. If I zoom out of this, like if I go out to like 50%, you see our layers actually extend off to the right, and the rain extends off to the right and above this as well. But so I had to adjust the anchor point so that the position could be 0, 0 for all these layers that I'm animating, just to make it easier. All right, so here we are. I have a 3-second timeline. I want everything to scroll across in 3 seconds. So I'm going to go here to 3 seconds, and I'm going to add a keyframe for all these layers, and I want everything to move the width of the screen in 3 seconds. So with everything selected, I am going to select the X axis here, and I'm going to do plus 720, which is the width of the screen. And apparently that's the opposite of what I wanted, so I'm actually going to just undo that. So at the end here, I want to change the x-axis negatively. So for that, I'm going to select the x-axis here and do plus minus 720. And you didn't see a change at all, right? Because when we move exactly 720 over, everything loops seamlessly, so we have the exact same image for all those layers that are moving. Now, if I play this, you'll see a repetition of this frame here because we have the same frame at the beginning and the end. So when I play this, it'll be smooth until you get to where it loops and there's a duplication of a frame, so there's a hesitation, which is what we'd expect, which is why I want to take all of these keyframes here and nudge them over one frame. Now when you loop, we have a seamless loop because we start on a frame, a certain position, and we go until we're just one frame away from our starting point, and then when we loop, it repeats that. So now it should be a seamless loop. My playback is flashing a little bit for some reason, but that is looping seamlessly. As we see, if we go to the end here, 2 seconds, 29 frames, and then alright, so that's the first step, is to get all the layers moving at the same speed. Now to get the horizontal parallax, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use scaling to introduce the size change. Now, all these background elements, okay, I'm going to deselect here. So we have a background, and I'm going to put that in a composition. So I'm going to go to Layer, Pre-compose, and I'm going to move all the attributes into the new composition. So the animation I created is going into this composition. All right, so if I play the timeline, nothing looks any different. It just is that there's now a composition here, which is just this animation here. This is the background. Okay, going back to our main composition, I'm going to go to the obstacles, do the same thing. The near grass, going to do the same thing. And I think I have to do these one at a time, because if I select multiple layers, it'll put all those layers together in the same composition, but I want to work with these independently. So the rain, going to go pre-compose. Now the shadow and the hero, I'm going to animate in this layer. There's a near grass layer that we talked about that I'm also going to pre-compose. Alright, so when I play this, it should everything is just moving horizontally except for the hero and the hero shadow, which I'm going to animate to avoid obstacles and whatnot. So to introduce horizontal parallax, I'm just going to take advantage of the fact that each of these compositions that I've created loop seamlessly. It just is that the ones that are closer to me, I want to use perspective to have them bigger. Now, as I make them bigger, they will appear to move faster across the screen, but they will still loop seamlessly because each of these compositions is a seamlessly looping composition. I'm just making them bigger. That won't change the fact that they're looping properly. So now it'd be nice if I could take the background ones and actually shrink them, but I didn't actually create extra width to the images. That's a refinement where you could actually make everything bigger than your final composition so that you can scale things down as well as up, but everything I'm going to do is going to be scaling up here. Starting, well, we have the background. The background is just going to be the way it is. The obstacles, well, let me select everything again and look at the scaling. Everything's at 100% here. So the background, deselect here, background is going to stay the same size. The obstacles, I'm going to scale up a little bit, and the horizontal and vertical scaling are linked, so you saw the change there. Okay, so the near grass, I think, is kind of what I want to be in the middle ground, similar to the obstacles. So I'm actually going to be moving those, and I could have put them in the same composition, but now I have the option of having the obstacles a little bit closer or farther away than the grass here. Now the rain, it's kind of hard to, it doesn't really associate with other things very much. I'm going to put it kind of in the middle ground too. Okay, the shadow and the hero I'm animating separately. And then so I have a closer layer. I'll make 110. And you see that darker grass and some of this foliage move out. Now when I play this, you'll see that there's a little sense of depth here because there's things that are closer, they're moving faster because they're bigger. Because they're bigger, they travel more territory, and the things that are farther away are moving more slowly. So there's a little bit of sense of depth here. I've got my hero that I can animate on a curve, weave in and out here. And so, the hero is just in this layer. I can bring him in, weave him around. Now, if we want him to interact with something on the screen that we want to appear and disappear, we can look at how we would accomplish that. If we want something moving the same speed as everything else, but but be able to animate its appearance and disappearance. So I'm going to just create a new shape layer here, and I'm just going to draw a little thing. We'll make it a star. Okay, star, and everything else is some shade of gray. So I'll make it a little white star. You know, and I could do all sorts of fun things with this, but right now it's just sitting there. So what I want to do is get it to be animating in a similar way to everything else. So at the say at the end here, I want it to be in that position. So I'm going to, well, I'm just going to have it go all the way across the screen. I mean, I could predetermine that it's going to like disappear right here. If I go in here to position, turn that on. So I know at the end of this animation loop right here, I want that to disappear. So I have it there. And then, so it's moving the same speed as everything else. I'm just going to go to the beginning. And everything else is moving the width of the screen. So I'm going to select this position, set plus 720. And I just move that off to the right. And now as we're going along, this guy comes on going the same speed as everything else, and then he would disappear here. Now right now he's there for the whole thing, but when it loops, you see him disappearing there. You know, there are other ways to manage that, but so the idea is get everything moving at the same speed, and then use the scaling to create the horizontal parallax. Now, since I have it here, I thought I'd go ahead and get the vertical movement of the rain layer working. So you recall the rain layer, well, the composition is 720 by 480, but if I open up the rain layer itself, which is this one, see we have the horizontal movement, but it's also twice the height. So I can go in here, if I look at the positions of the rain, it goes from 0, 0 to, if I bring this keyframe back in, you see it goes to minus 720 to get the right to left movement. If I want it to also go down, I can go in and type in 480 here. So if I go from the previous keyframe, you see there's no change because it's a seamless loop. I go to the next end keyframe, it matches exactly. So now I just nudge this keyframe off again, and I have like a diagonal rain pattern moving through here. So if I stop and I go back to our main composition, and play it, there's something a little bit different going on. Now, the rain is moving right to left the same speed as the background, so you know it's matching that, but then we have the vertical movement of the rain, so it looks like the rain is just falling straight down, but we're traveling through the rain. So just another variation on the things you can do with this.